The moment you walked in, everything around me blurred. It was like time stopped, and I couldn't breathe, not from fear, but from the overwhelming beauty of you. It's as if my soul recognized you before my mind could even catch up. You entered the room, and I swear my heart skipped a beat, my breath hitched. It wasn't just your presence that shook me. It was the energy you carried with you, like you were a force of nature, impossible to ignore. In that instant, when you walked in, it felt like my entire universe had shifted. My thoughts scattered, and all I could focus on was you. The air around me thickened, and I swear it felt like I had forgotten how to breathe. It was as if your arrival triggered a wave of emotions I didn't know I was capable of feeling. I lost myself in the moment, forgetting how to breathe, completely swept away by your presence. You walked in, and I forgot the world around me. It was as if every cell in my body recognized you instantly. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I was just consumed by the undeniable pull you have on me. When you entered, everything shifted. My breath became shallow, my thoughts scattered, and all I could focus on was the magnetic energy you brought with you. It felt like you took my breath away in the most beautiful, unexpected way. In that fleeting moment, when you stepped into the room, it felt like time stood still. My heart raced, and my breath caught in my chest. It was like I was witnessing something extraordinary, something I'd been waiting for my whole life. I was lost in the ordinary, and then you walked in, and everything changed. The air felt different, my heart raced, and suddenly I forgot how to breathe, overcome by the quiet intensity of your presence. You didn't just walk into the room, you swept me off my feet. It wasn't just your beauty or your presence, but the way the entire space seemed to shift when you arrived. You took my breath away, and I didn't even care to get it back. It's as though your presence fills every corner of the room, leaving no space untouched. I can't focus, can't breathe. I'm entirely aware of how deeply you've affected me without you even saying a word. When you walked in, it felt like everything I'd ever known was suddenly irrelevant. Your gaze, your aura, your energy, it was all consuming, and in that moment, I forgot how to do the simplest thing: breathe. I thought I knew what it felt like to be captivated, but the moment you entered, I realized I was wrong. It wasn't just your physical beauty, but something deeper that completely took my breath away. It's like your very presence changes the air. I breathe in, and I'm overwhelmed with something so strong, so electric, that for a moment I forget how to inhale. Your arrival left me breathless in the most profound way. The second you stepped through the door, it felt like my heart dropped, my lungs collapsed, and I was left gasping for breath not from panic, but from the intense wave of emotion you brought with you. You walked in, and my world stood still. I couldn't focus on anything else because suddenly you were all I could think about. The air felt heavy with the weight of your presence, and all I could do was breathe you in. Every time you enter a room, it's like you fill the space with an energy that makes it hard to breathe. It's not because of fear, but because my heart races, and I'm overwhelmed by the beauty of your presence. When you walked in, it felt like you brought an entirely new world with you, one I had no preparation for. My breath was stolen, my thoughts scattered, and I was left in awe of the magic you effortlessly exude. It wasn't just your appearance that took my breath away. It was the sheer force of your energy. Every part of me was pulled towards you, leaving me in awe and breathless, captivated by your very essence. In the moment you walked in, the atmosphere changed. It was like a wave of energy had washed over me, and all I could do was hold my breath and take in the beauty of everything you brought into the room. I swear, the moment you walked in, it was like my lungs stopped working. I couldn't breathe, not because of panic, but because my heart was racing and my body was overwhelmed by the sheer magnetism of your presence. When you entered, everything around me faded into the background. All I could focus on was you, the way your energy filled the room and took my breath away in a way that was both shocking and enchanting. I didn't expect it. How could I? But the moment you walked in, I felt an overwhelming rush of emotions. It was like my breath was taken away, and I was left in a state of wonder, completely lost in the power of your presence. You didn't even have to say anything. The moment you walked in, I was already overwhelmed by the energy you carried. It was so intense, so captivating, that I literally couldn't breathe, frozen in awe of you. The moment you arrived, it was like my heart skipped a beat, and I forgot everything I knew. The air felt thick with your presence, and all I could do was breathe you in, lost in the feeling of being consumed by you. There was a silence, a weight. As you walked into the room, I felt it instantly. My breath caught in my chest, and I couldn't think of anything else except the undeniable force of attraction you brought with you. When you walked in, I swear I felt every muscle in my body tense up in anticipation. It wasn't fear, it was excitement, the kind that takes your breath away, leaving you with nothing but the sheer wonder of being in your presence. You entered, and it felt like the world shifted around me. Suddenly, my thoughts were a blur, and I couldn't breathe properly, overwhelmed by everything you are and everything you made me feel in that instant. The room seemed to come alive when you walked in. Your presence stirred something deep inside me, and suddenly I was breathless, not from anything physical, but from the sheer beauty of being in your presence. You walked in like a storm, sweeping everything off its course, and for a moment I lost myself. My breath was stolen, and all I could think about was how to hold on to this beautiful, surreal moment with you. The moment you entered, I couldn't take my eyes off of you. The air seemed to thicken with tension, and I couldn't breathe, not from anything dangerous, but from how overwhelming your presence was in that moment. You didn't need to do anything. You just walked in, and it felt like my entire world stopped. The rush of emotions, the overwhelming connection. It was like you had taken my breath away, and I didn't even care to get it back. In that moment when you stepped in, I felt everything fall into place, as though your presence was the missing piece to a puzzle I didn't know I was trying to solve. My breath was gone, and I was left marveling at the beauty of the moment. It's incredible how your presence can make everything else feel so insignificant. The moment you walked in, I couldn't breathe, not because of panic, but because I was completely lost in the wonder of you. When you arrived, I was struck speechless. It wasn't just your beauty, but the way you carried yourself that completely took my breath away. I felt like I was seeing everything for the first time through your eyes. In that instant, everything changed. Your energy was so powerful, it swept me off my feet, and all I could do was stand there, frozen, struggling to breathe, caught up in the whirlwind of emotions you created. You didn't have to speak a word. Your presence alone was enough to steal my breath away. Every part of me became aware of you, and in that moment, I realized just how deeply you could affect me. The moment you entered the room, I swear everything around me became blurry. My heart raced, my breath hitched, and all I could focus on was you. It was as though the universe had conspired for me to experience that moment with you. You walked in, and suddenly I didn't know how to breathe. It wasn't fear, it was the sheer intensity of your presence that left me in awe, like I was standing on the edge of something wonderful and terrifying all at once. When you arrived, it felt like the room filled with light. I couldn't take my eyes off you, and in that moment, I realized I had forgotten how to breathe, completely consumed by the magic of your presence. Your arrival didn't just change the atmosphere, it shifted everything within me. I forgot how to breathe, and all I could focus on was the intensity of the emotions you stirred up in me. You didn't say anything, But the moment you walked in, the world felt different. My breath was stolen by the force of your presence, and I couldn't do anything but stand there, amazed by everything you are. It's amazing how one person can walk into a room and completely alter the energy. The moment you stepped in, I was breathless, not from anything alarming, but from the overwhelming rush of feelings you brought with you. I don't think I've ever truly felt what it means to be breathless until that moment you entered. The air felt heavy with your presence, and I couldn't focus on anything else but the overwhelming connection between us. When you walked in, I felt like I had been holding my breath for ages. It wasn't panic or fear, it was the sheer beauty of your presence, the way it made everything else disappear in the most peaceful, breathtaking way. It was like the world paused when you entered. I couldn't breathe, not out of fear, but out of awe. You have this way of affecting me, of making everything stand still and leave me breathless in the most captivating way.